Hello, hello, hello. I thought his stream was an hour earlier because of winter times. Let's ignore that fact. Let's not talk about it. I'm so sorry. Last few weeks been bad scheduling wise. Like I seriously feel bad about it. So sorry if anyone has been like waiting for an hour. That was not my intention. Done on time, impressive. Nope, an entire hour too late. But we'll ignore it. We'll ignore it. Classic duck behavior, getting confused by the duck. Maybe, maybe. No, I've been actually organizing my next holiday, and yeah, I'm going with friends, and I just got chatting and just forgot the time, and yeah, that's the story behind that one. Hey Don, audio video good? Thanks, man. Appreciate it. So yeah, I'm gonna be on holiday next month, just so you know. So if the production quality kind of drops, I'm gonna be streaming from my laptop and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm sorry for that in advance. Friends must be nice. I'm sure you have some. Before I start the stream, shout out to FTX for sponsoring the show. Their links are in the description if you want to check them out. If you want to know what they're all about, they're basically, and this is just the Blockfolio, or like formerly known as Blockfolio, kind of part of the deal. But they have like a really excellent mobile app, and yeah, you can just trade there. Pretty nice. One of the better spot ways to trade on your mobile phone, I think. Wow, caught the live stream for once. Yeah, because I'm an hour late. Yeah. Found a girl in Metaverse. No, in real life though. German. Deutsche Pünktlichkeit ist dahin. Ah, shit. Yeah. Can't claim that for myself anymore. But yeah, let's. Should we get into it, or do you guys want to trash talk like for a while, or like in general, like just casual talk? I don't mind either one. Every time Don is publicly bullish, Bitcoin dumps. I mean, I've been bullish since 43, my friend, and very publicly so. So this time. But yeah, is what it is. Pullbacks are part of the deal, right? And yeah, we'll talk about whether I'm invalidated or not, which I can give you the TLDR. I am kind of, so we'll talk about it. But yeah, high time frame wise, still not terrible, right? Like on the monthly, if we hold this high, and this could just be a wick, right? So we might hold it. That's still like not a bad looking chart. It's just the problems start coming in when you look at the weekly, because what basically happened is that we've had an all-time high breakout that led to nothing. That's like one of the worst things that can happen, in my opinion. Like whenever you have a pattern that breaks to the upside, the worst thing that can happen is basically falling back into the pattern, because then the likelihood of it dumping is really, really high. And even if it doesn't dump and start going back up, like the trade setup just is pretty damn difficult to trade, right? So for a trader, this is a shitty position to be in, because there's a high chance that it breaks down, right? Whenever it looks like this. And even if you're wrong, like whether you get back in, it's not as easy, because yeah, you can just rebuy above 60K, right? And that's like a decent strategy, I think. Like say this goes and curves back up. The problem with that is the candle that closes above 60K to kind of confirm that it's actually a breakout is probably gonna like go to 65, right? So if you start selling now, given that we've actually closed the weekly below support, if you want to get back in, you're gonna have to do it like, let me see how much that is, but it's quite a bit, 15% higher, right? And a lot of people just don't want to do that. So pretty shitty situation to be in. In my opinion, like what I've been trying to do, and it kind of sucks, people have been front running my asks. I've been trying to sell 60K and got close a couple times, like this pump here, pretty damn close, but didn't quite happen. And yeah, didn't quite get to 60K on this attempt either. And now we're retesting lower time frame support over and over again, which is not a good sign, right? But back to the high time frames, like I said, what I would like to see to kind of get out of my Bitcoin position is like a retest of 60K, maybe 61 to 62K, like something in this resistance cluster. And then like I talked about this earlier, that I've been bullish since 43-ish. That's my average. So my plan is kind of like taking that and not round tripping it, right? I don't want to see this just go back below my entry, and that would suck. And then I mean, in general, I wouldn't let it. But yeah, if it goes back towards 60K, I'm going to take that position off and re-add it if I have to at 65K. And that's completely fine by me, but it obviously sucks that we're showing weakness at all-time high. And it could just be like that we're starting to chop and then actually go back up. But that, like taking a little bit of a haircut in between, or like not being in position from 60 to 65, if I like, that seems like the worst case, is fine by me if this is actually the top of the bull market for Bitcoin. Doesn't have to mean like that the altcoins are going to go and just vanish, by the way. The altcoins can still just run. But yeah, that's kind of my view. Bitcoin has topped, says John C. Maybe, we'll see. Like, you can make an argument both sides, right? Like, if you're bull, you can just draw this support and be like, yeah, we just retested this weekly support. All is good. The problem is that we have like two really good resistances ahead. So even if this is support, where does that support? And that's kind of like my view right now, like that this could like end up a green week. But even if it does, where is the next resistance? And it's just overhead, right? So I'm going to try to sell into that resistance if I get to. And if not, I'm just going to be the guy that sells into the dump. Like if it starts looking really, really bad, I'm going to make it. I'm going to sell into the dump basically. And that's not going to be good for me or the market. I mean, short term, right? Because whenever you sell into the dump, you have liquidity issues basically, and you don't want to have that. Bear trap? Maybe. Like I could see it be a bear trap, like going sideways in here. But the thing is, like I'm fine with taking this haircut, even though it's gonna suck. To avoid kind of sitting in this thing while it just dumps. And if it starts dumping here, right? Like if it has another push down towards like 51, 52, I think we're gonna see, like, let's draw like the most likely thing. Let's say we do this, right? I could see a bounce from here, but in general, I would expect it to kind of start breaking down just based on the fact that we've had an all-time high breakout fail. And whenever that happens, you usually get like some bearish momentum. And then the chart, I mean, you can just see how this looks, right? We've talked about this for weeks now. We don't want to see us go back to 40K because then you have like a neckline here. I'm not a big head and shoulders kind of guy, but basically what you do is you put in a lower high below this all-time high breakout failure, and that's like a really, really bad thing to do. So given that is a risk, I'm willing to just close some of my positions, which is like I bought a bunch of Bitcoin down here and I bought a bunch of ETH, and I'm not gonna sell my ETH because my like ETH is still bullish chart wise, and I'm just gonna sell my Bitcoin, basically taking a little bit less than half of my position, like of my bullish play from here to like wherever it wants to go off the table, right? And I'm still gonna hold some of the bullish play until that is invalidated as well. Could just be forming a higher low? Yes, of course. And I mean, that's always like when you're trading, that's always something that can happen, right? It breaks down, it starts invalidating your thesis, you get out and it's like, okay, it it forms a higher low or whatever somewhere here and then goes back up. But then you just reconsider, reposition, it's all good, right? The thing that you try to avoid are these moves, right? These ones, because those fuck you over. And if you avoid these, right, by like, for example, like with this, we've had support at 6K for a shitload of time, bounce from it every time, and then you start being like, okay, at this point, like I'm starting to get nervous. You'd be fine, like in this case too, you'd be fine kind of closing the buys that you've had at 6K once you see like there's no real momentum anywhere, right? And then re-add it on a market structure breakout, right? And in this case, that saved you more than 50% drawdown. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to avoid here. But I'm not in any rush. I think bears are kind of getting like euphoric at basically what I think is shitty support, but still support. So I think there's like a chance that we actually get back to 61, 62. And I think at that point, people are going to flip bias really hard. And I want to sell into that if I get to. So yeah, that's kind of my view for Bitcoin. I wish this didn't happen because I actually prefer just sitting in a position, not having to do anything. This puts me in the awkward spot where I want to be in position, because I mean Bitcoin's like at 60K and I feel like there could still be a move towards, like I still think 70 to 80K is a very, very attractive place for the market to go and a very attractive place to sell, right? So I want to be in position for that, but the chart just doesn't allow it right now. And I hate those kind of spots because then you're forced to kind of decide, okay, do I want to follow my kind of like my gut feeling for where the market should be headed, which is I think 70, 75, maybe 80K, or should I follow the charts? And in this case, like it's not only the charts, like open interest and stuff look pretty bad as well, in my opinion. So I'm erring on the side of caution, and doesn't mean I'm closing out everything, but I will sell into the next pump if I get to. Why dump versus hedge against it? Because I can't hedge given new tax laws in Germany. So yeah, that's that. That is that. Any questions to like the weekly or the monthly? If not, I'm just going to continue with the daily, and the daily kind of looks shit. You can make the same argument, and I've talked about this on the show yesterday with Ledger and Josh and Luke. You can make the argument that we are just sitting on top of support, right? The problem with that is the same that we've had on the weekly, right? When you have like so many supports, resistances, whatever in the same place, it gets relatively difficult to judge which one is the most important one. And how, like, you cannot really trade this support to this resistance. It's too close, right? So like you have to kind of pick one. And whenever that is the case, you just kind of have to remember that in a bull market, usually the first support does its trick, right? Something goes up, you have some sort of consolidation. Let me actually redraw this. Like something goes up, you have a consolidation, you move up, right? The first support in the bull market when something wipes out is usually the one that you want to go for. When you have like this support down here, right? Or even one down here, if it slashes through all of those and then starts turning up, that's a much, much worse sign. And that's kind of what Bitcoin is doing, right? It should have kind of went for this support and held. It didn't. This one should have absolutely held because that's the actually range. I can show this on another chart. Like this is the range that we've been trading in. So you've had this range, right? That's been the range. And we actually just we undercut the range one time. That led to an up move, which is okay. Then we overshot the range, and that usually leads to at least the bottom of the range, what happened. But instead of like bouncing from there, we actually found resistance at the bottom of the range. So like just from that viewpoint, the daily kind of looks shitty, and then it doesn't really matter whether like you can draw, because you can draw a shitload of supports here, because it's an area that we've been trading in for a long time, right? You can draw this support, you can draw this support however you like. I don't like these too much, but I mean you can, or you can draw it even down here. And whenever that's the case, don't trust any of them. It's just a shitty area to kind of do business in. Rather do business higher up when it kind of, let's say it does go back into the range for like a close. I want to see it wick into the range and then get rejected, or at least fill me and then do whatever it wants to. But that's kind of like what I think could happen, is that we wick up here and then go back down again. But yeah, that's kind of my view on the lower time frames. Like that's not the best look that we've had. So for me, not looking too good on those. But more than happy to kind of change my view. And if it kind of goes back up towards like 60, 61 in a constructive fashion, I might actually hold on to my position. So there's at least some hope there. If I see like constructive price movement. So yeah. Why did we top in 17, 18? Because ETH fees were too high, because Bitcoin fees were too high, because ICOs, like what ICOs did in 17, 18. For the people that aren't aware, initial coin offerings, so you had like a coin said they're gonna replace PayPal, and then they gathered money, most of the time multiple millions, right? And like 15 million was like kind of standard for a time. And what they did is they made, like they almost always sold out back then. That was the kind of bubble of 17, 18. And then they took the money that they made, right? And then they're like, okay, ICOs usually go up, right? They kind of gathered 15 million and then they got listed at 100, right? So you made like in times X or something, times 8, whatever. So what they did, obviously, because they're smart people, right, is they took like, from the 15 million that they made, they took like 7 or whatever, like a good chunk, and invested it in another ICO into those 15 million. And you can see where this is going. They obviously did the same, because why would you not? Or like even in multiples, right? Most of them just kind of put it wherever they could, and that kept going, right? And you can see where this goes. Because when this happens, like the market, just the ICOs did really, really well, because they were always over allocated and everyone wanted a piece, with ICOs investing other ICOs and that kind of stuff. And once there were too many, obviously the bid just wasn't there anymore, and then it crashed, and then you suddenly realize that you have like most of your net worth in like shitty ICOs that don't do anything, because the ICOs themselves knew that they didn't do much. So it was just kind of rushed to the door, and then the ICOs went, ETH went, yeah, mayhem basically. How big is Don's spot position that he will have a significant impact on the market if he sells? No. I won't have a significant impact. I'm just going to have a low time frame impact. Market doesn't really give a shit. Market's way too big, and I'm way too small. What do you mean with a constructive fashion? It's really hard to kind of put into words, but there's like constructive price movements, and there's like not so much, right? So for example, what's been happening here is kind of shit price action, right? You can just kind of see how this is chopping. But if you look back a while, we can go on the lower time frames for this. So if I see something like this happen, where, and this is something that, the reason why I'm picking this as an example is because I was actually commenting on this back when it was happening, right, at 30K. So I was bearish for most of this, right? I was like, okay, you can see how this is like curving down, looks complete ass, right? And I was like, okay, if this support fails, we're fucked, right? And it failed, and then we consolidated right below it, and then actually had an uptrust. And that immediately invalidated everyone that kind of like expected immediate follow through to the downside. And then you have this kind of like, so you know that the bears are offside with this move, right? Range low just got reclaimed in a big fashion. And even if you're like kind of a defensive trade at this range low, definitely did. And then you see the market just walk out like this. And whenever that happens, right, when you get like a range undercut, so if range goes like this, range drops out, goes like this, goes back up, and then starts curving up like this. In crypto, that's almost always gonna resolve to the upside. Because you know, like these people in here, they're trying to get out in here and they can't. Like the price is going up like this because they're not finding anyone to close the positions into. And then it catapults up again and then does actually the same thing again. Like this kind of stuff, when bears just get no break, that's like a constructive movement. You've had a bunch of these in these kind of on the left side here as well. There's obviously a lot of different kind of examples that you could pick. This is not the only one, but it's really difficult to explain because, I mean, if you haven't gone through like market movements too much, like it just takes some experience to kind of see it. And so like, let's say the market did this, went sideways here, went back up, and then actually started curving upwards. If you see this, that's actually like a pretty damn constructive kind of move up, and I'm like, I'd be fine with holding this into 60, and if it does that again, I'd be fine holding it for longer. It's just if it does this instead and then spikes like this, I'm gonna sell. So there you go. Like there's a few non-constructive ways this can go up, and like with big spikes, that's just gonna be my exit. My eyes are bleeding when dark mode? Never. Never. So yeah, there you go. I think that explains it somewhat, but it's not as easy as just saying, okay. Like it's easy to say constructive, not constructive. Sometimes it's just not obvious. But there's a few good signs and there's a few bad signs. I don't like, for example, when you have a support gets tested multiple times like this. Like the more it gets tested, you can kind of see like that like the bounces are getting weaker. If this pump right now fails and starts rolling over again, that's like a non-constructive price movement. That's almost always gonna fall like at least through support. And then you can still like get like a good movement out of it. But like if this kind of rolls over and you can kind of see the momentum fade, that's usually gonna fall through the floor. So yeah. That's kind of my plan for Bitcoin. Like I said, I'm down to like sell it in any case, unless there's something that I really, really like about the price movement, because I'm more than happy to just be exposed to ETH. And the reason for that is, even though we've had like a little bit of a pullback today, the reason for it is like ETH BTC actually looks pretty good towards, like we've been talking about this for a while, but I think there's a good chance it goes to 0.08. If not a little bit higher, 0.085. And ETHUSD has actually been, like this is decent price action from like a support resistance point of view. This is from last stream, I think. Because like you can immediately see the difference, right? Bitcoin, basically, if this is the range, right, this range midpoint or whatever, Bitcoin did this, and then fucked off and fell back into it. And ETH has been just moving up in like this fashion. And that's not something I want to fade. Like I wouldn't want to short it. And I'm down to hold my position because that looks constructive. And I think if Bitcoin goes up, I'm going to make the gains as well in ETH. So I'm down to just hold it in any case. Like there's no real technical reason to sell. And given there's nothing else but a technical reason to sell on Bitcoin, I'm fine with cutting one, keeping the other. Don, what would be your plan for ETH if you were not already invested? I honestly, really good question. If you're like super aggressive, you could have gotten in on this retest. That's terrifying though. I basically, like, I got in, as stupid as it sounds, basically on these wicks. Most of the ETH that I did buy, or like not most, but a good chunk of it, I put into NFTs, so that's worthless. I don't think I'm not down in USD since in like the NFT buys, but I'm down in ETH definitely. Fucking NFTs, dude. Who convinced me to buy worthless JPEGs in the first place? Hands, raise your hands if you were the one. Gonna have to find someone responsible for it. Fucking hell. But yeah, the JPEGs that I bought, I think they're up in USD a little bit, down in ETH. But the ETH that I bought on top of it, that's up nicely. And I honestly, like, it's terrifying to buy 4K, but that's like the closest you can get, like if you really want to be exposed. And if you fall back below 4K, I think you can buy anything in this range down here. Because I showed you this range, right? I showed you this range on the daily. This is basically, if you do any range kind of trading, this is what you want to be looking for, right? So you have a range. You see like how it undershot and then went to the top of the range, and then overshot it to the upside and did the same on the downside, right? So this is like classical kind of range trading. You undershoot the range, you come back into it, you usually overshoot the range, and then you either go up or you do the same thing. Like the moment you start like losing the range, it's basically a trade. Like this basically from here, this is trade, the long trade. So basically from the moment you actually started closing above support towards the range high, if not a little bit above it. And this is a short trade. Stop loss basically up here, same here, towards the range low, right? Like this is one of the most simple kind of trade setups that you can have. Basically you overshoot a range and then you come back into it. Best kind of entry is the retest here. You did kind of get the same here, right? With the retest on the bullish side of things. And you see this and it seems obvious, it's a daily time frame, whatever, right? Now, if you go to ETH and look at it on a weekly time frame, like what is this if we start falling back below 4K? It's a range overshoot and then you target at either like the range low, which is 1.8K, or a little bit below it. That would be the technical kind of trade. And I know that sounds crazy. And I mean, I'd be fucking fuming if this happened. But if we start losing 4K, that's why I'm selling ETH, because just from a technical standpoint, the setup is exactly the same. And like, it's really, really easy for any bear to kind of punish the bulls that went from $80 to 4.8K, almost 5K, by like starting to short into this and take it down there. Right now, I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm going to be sitting there like hoping it doesn't happen because like I said, I'm exposed to both ETH and NFTs, which are denominated in ETH. And some that are not, but they're still all correlated. But I'm not going to ignore that setup. Right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But I mean, I just want to say it so you guys know my thought process. And yeah, otherwise it's a bullish retest, moon it, right? That's what I want to see. But if we can't make that happen, I'm going to treat it as like this is my favorite kind of short setup. And that's a short setup that I would have taken any other year other than like the current one, given tax implications. Like I legitimately don't want to risk having to pay taxes on my losses as well. Like let's say this breaks down and there's still a chance that it goes up. Fake outs happen sometimes. I don't want to pay losses. Like I don't want to pay taxes on those losses. Not worth it. That's why I'm just going to sell spot and wait it out and try to buy below the range. And then like at this point, right, given I'm not shorting this to the downside, if it rolls over and comes back above 4K, I'm down to just buy that, have a new invalidation down here, target 5, 6, 7, 8. There you go. That's like my view on Bitcoin and ETH. It's pretty damn straightforward. It's one of the simplest setups that you can have, the range kind of setup, and one of the better working ones, technical wise. NFTs will pump hard when Coinbase start listing them. I hope so, yeah. We all know it was Loomdot. Mixture of people. But I mean, I don't mind being exposed, and I don't mind my NFT portfolio going to zero, even though I don't think it will. Because I mean, I own a bunch of Loomdots NFTs. I own way too much of Loomdots NFTs. And I don't think those go to zero. A lot of other NFTs I think will go to zero, and even some that I hold. But the Loomdots, the Loomdots, or like the Wassies that I hold, I don't think so. But then again, gotta give the disclaimer, I actually sit on the board of directors or whatever. So I give input to where that entire project goes, basically. I have no deciding power, but I do give input. Okay, let me see what you guys have been writing. Sorry for being a little bit slow. Like, I've had a long day. Cred's been getting me back into the gym for the last few weeks, and yeah, taking a toll. But it's good. It's good. Feeling much better. Your titles suck. My titles are the best, brother. Speak about the devil, and he appears. Hey friend, are derivatives informing your market outlook at the moment? Could I get your take on them? No, nothing's too hot besides open interest. So there's not really, like, there's risk of total wipeout, but like anything else doesn't seem too terrible. Let the duck roast begin. Yeah, Cred shows up, I'm gonna get roasted 100% all the time. Why do people, like, why does he always have to bully me? I'm just an innocent duck. I have done no wrong in my life. Okay, so that's Bitcoin, that's ETH. We talked about ETH BTC. Like, just look at this. This looks, this is basically the opposite. Like, we talked about like a floor being like bounced on like this. Oops, sorry. Right? ETH doing the opposite, right? So this is the resistance, and it's done. You can see it, right? I think there's a good chance that that resolves to the upside. If it doesn't, oh shit, it probably just goes back to range low, which would hurt because that's quite a bit to go. But yeah, that doesn't have me too bearish. And then with regards to other altcoins, I mean, the big ones all look like shit still. ADA looks especially shit. Watch it bottom now that I've said it, because it's at support right now. But still, like, it's ADA, right? Like these ones, the old ones still look garbage. We have like a few old ones, Zcash, for example, that Ledger's been talking about a lot in the last few weeks. Actually, Moon a shitload. I don't actually mind the setup too much from like a standpoint, like from like a TA standpoint, right? You get like a sharp sell-off and then you actually make a higher low. That's not too bad. But there's not that much that you can do with it. So I refer to Ledger's setup if you're in Zcash. Don't listen to me. And then like the other coins, the only ones that are really moving are AVAX, which I think, and this is something that Cred and I have been discussing about while it was happening. I didn't tweet about it because I'm like legitimately not into getting into fights with any of the AVAX influencers, just not down for it. But basically when they had their wallet problem, it reminded me so much about Solana, right? Solana shut the network down for a bunch, like for like, how long was it? Like almost a day. And I can actually show you what I mean. Like these things tend to play out relatively similar. So we can just use them as examples. So Solana oh shit, was it? I think it was this one. Yeah, I think it was back here. But do correct me if I'm wrong. Could be this one, but I'm not entirely sure. Could be this one too. Either one works fine. Like Solana shut its network down, and then it took either 23, I don't remember which date it was, or 80 days to kind of get back on track, right? And I think the same thing is going to be true for AVAX with the wallets. It's not as bad of a problem, but I still think that's going to take like at least 10 days or so. Wouldn't be surprised if we get like a little bit of a pullback on that front. That said, like it's a strong mover upwards, and like I wouldn't want to short it. And if anything, like if the market completely wipes out, I think $70 is like an amazing buy. And that sounds like it's far away, right? But like Bitcoin wicks to 50K, I think we're there. Like I think legitimately like you're gonna get like a wick like this, because whenever you have these new coins, people over leverage to like insanity on it, just to kind of like you see your friends make money longing the $40 retest, and then it goes up and you don't buy, and it goes up further and it's at 100 and you're like, okay, now it's gonna go up. You leverage up and it goes up to 150 and you're euphoric, and then you have like a liquidation at like 70 or something, and then you start like getting in danger when the market starts to kind of tumble down. And people are gonna buy that dip because it's the hot coin. So I'm gonna be there with them if it does. Like if the market takes a shit, I'm gonna be looking at AVAX and Solana for big wicks to the downside that I can buy. And that would be $70. I don't know if it's gonna go to $70. I could just see this play out like the Solana move did, which would just basically be like this. And then further upside, fine by me, right? But if it does wick, I'm gonna be involved. If it doesn't, I mean, there's nothing technical for me there. So I would have to kind of refer to my fundamental skills, and those are not up to par, especially not with a coin that just went up a shitload, basically 10x in the last few months. Is SEC mooning a top signal? It definitely isn't a good signal, yeah. Lol, Solana turned off its blockchain. It's not crypto. Solana is a web server. Whatever you want to call it, right? I mean, early days in crypto, everything is kind of centralized in this market. Some things more so, some things less. Whatever you want to call it. I don't really care too much, to be honest. Like, I get angry a little bit when I see like decentralization being shit on. But in bull markets, like no one cares. In bear markets, it's gonna matter, right? If something's not decentralized in the bear market, it's just gonna dump the shit. In a bull market, people are just gonna be like, okay, this transacts faster than other things, so it's better. Is XRP dead? I mean, I don't have a position. I still think XRP is gonna be one of the best plays once we actually get closer to the decision. For the people that don't know, there's a big court case involving XRP, and if that clears up, I think XRP is gonna pump a shitload, and if it doesn't, I mean, it's just gonna bleed out. So I am not in a rush. Like I was in a rush earlier because I thought like that was a good play to be had, and it actually turned out like a few people agreed. So like this pump was basically like I bought and then other people bought and it just mega pumped. And I sold that pump, and now I'm just kind of like waiting for one. The chart back then looked kind of decent, right? Nowadays, not so much. So this was my setup basically, right? You had like an inverse head and shoulders, shitty one, but nonetheless there. And I was like, okay, people are gonna like pump it as an inverse head and shoulders. And then this is something that happens a lot, right? So people with patterns that kind of learned how to trade patterns, when you see this pattern, what they do is they long this, targeting basically this distance, right? So this distance. So this distance here in the middle. What I do instead, I see this form. And I buy here and I target here. Like that's the way I trade these. And then if it rallies super hard into it and I'm like, okay, I think this is gonna be like a genuine breakout, I hold it. But most of the time, like I buy this and then sell it into resistance again. And that's kind of what happened here. And the pattern, people just eat a shit like too often for me. Like this almost always plays out when you have a setup like this. This kind of leg of the trade. This one very rarely does, but when it does, you look like a genius, so everyone tries to do it anyway. I don't care about looking like a genius, I just want to take the trade that plays out often enough to make me money. It's not about looking like a genius, it's about making money in the end, right? Even though it's nice to look like a genius, obviously. This looks like a dude, yeah, I mean, that's... The head and shoulders always looks like one. Sorry for that. XRP is the setup to recover it all in one trade. I agree, but it's just a question of how long is it gonna take, and is your money gonna be worth like sitting in garbage until it happens? The answer to that can be yes or no, depending on your trading style. Right now, for me, it's a no. But I'm keeping a close eye on XRP. And then we have other ones like Link and stuff. Look at this. This is just garbage price action to the max on almost all of these. So like the older coins kind of look like shit. The ones with a narrative have been pumping 10x. So it's still narrative season. You just don't buy the stuff that doesn't have a narrative going for it. Okay. Let me see what you guys say. How ripped are you now from the gym? Like the thing is with me, like I've always been like on the thinner side of things. Like never have been fat, never will be probably. So it's like ripped is relatively easy given that the moment I just lose like % body fat, the only thing left is basically muscle. The problem is I haven't done much sports in the last few years, as in like the Corona years. So there's not that much muscle there, but going okay. How do you uncover narratives? I mean, for example, it's just common sense, basically. You see Facebook go from Facebook to Meta, whatever, and announce that they're pushing into the metaverse. What do you think is crypto gonna do? Like, what do you think happens when something like that happens? Obviously, the metaverse coins pump, right? Like, if anything's gonna pump, right, it's gonna be the metaverse coins. It just makes sense. If you see Elon tweet about Dogecoin, what's gonna happen, right? One, obviously Dogecoin's gonna pump, or like if it hasn't pumped yet anyway. Nowadays, I don't think he has that power anymore. But the secondary effect is obviously meme coins, because Dogecoin is a meme coin, pump, right? And it's the same with metaverse. Like this is about metaverse coins. And then you go and see like whatever, in a different narrative, for example, like privacy comes up again, and I don't think that's gonna happen. But then you see some comments in the privacy coin kind of world, and then that's a narrative. Right now, I don't think that's the case, by the way, for Zcash. You see Barry do well, and he tweets about a coin, for example, Zcash. What's gonna happen, right? like this is like in the narrative in itself. Barry has been pretty damn accurate. So that's like the narrative. Like he mentioned some things probably gonna go up, and like you can make this chain on your own. Like it's pretty damn easy. The only problem is you're gonna buy garbage that you have no idea about. So what like the problem is basically you get into a space of crypto that you haven't been in, and then you have to quickly gather all the information to kind of see if you're buying a rug pull or not. And that's like the part where, I mean, back in the days, back in 17, 18, I was sitting there just doing like the groundwork, doing like reading myself into it and that kind of shit. I don't like to do it anymore. But that's still, if you ask me like what's the best way to make a lot of money in crypto, is like sitting down and doing like all the reading, understanding, and trying to like get into these narrative plays. It's like the best way to do it. And there's a lot of narratives that can be played. Back in the day, it used to be simple. Like, okay, a privacy coin is pumping, so other privacy coins are going to pump. Nowadays, it's like simple in another way. Basically, okay, someone famous mentioned this, or for example, GME pumped, right? You had a GME pump, and all of these apes are sitting there, and then you see them, and this is something that I've caught on. The GME people mention a coin, right? Like GME pumped, and then they start mentioning loop ring, right? What's going to happen with loop ring? It's pretty damn obvious, right? That's a narrative in itself. So that's like how you chase these narratives. You don't have to be a genius for it. You just have to be like kind of quick, and you kind of have to understand how to not buy yourself into scams. And if you buy yourself into scams, you have to understand that you have to get out of them relatively quickly. Then again, some of these scams have been running for a little bit longer than others. Shiba, for example, that's still up a shitload. So sometimes these actually maintain for quite a while. So there you go. That's kind of like, there's different ways, but like that's just kind of like, you don't have to overcomplicate it. Facebook renames itself, rebrands itself to Metaverse thing. Buy the shit out of Metaverse coins, and you're probably gonna make money. Someone mentions like a big company buys whatever coin, or says it's interesting or whatever. You buy coins that are similar, or the coin in question. Or just follow Zaka. He's really good with the narrative kind of stuff. Chat, did you cover sand already? No, there's nothing to cover there. Like whenever markets just move straight up, like I could give you all the TA for like the TA like for this like left side of the run, but there's really none to be had. I told you about like this setup, and I actually saw like a bunch of people actually take it, where it's like you get these blow off tops and then you go back down and then you actually like make a lower high. It's like the one thing to watch out for, and it's something that you got here. But that's the extent to it. And if you want to short sand or whatever, I don't think it's a good idea, because you don't want to short these things. But if it starts breaking down, you can try your hand at shorting it here. And then you try to kind of buy the dip on a deep pullback, right? And what would be a deep pullback right now? Oh, Jesus fuck. There's no deep pullback level to buy. This one. So for sand, right? If the market goes to shit, you buy $3. And otherwise, like on the upside, you can buy this whenever you want to. And you can pray that the momentum keeps going. But there's no technical thing. Like this is just basically just a gamble on the momentum continuing. And that's fine to do. I think there's a chance that this goes to $10. But really, do you want to buy at 7.4 to get out at 10 with like a risk of it going to 3? I mean, you can, but it's not my trade. But like this, that there is a strategy in this where you can actually make profits with like coins that you just buy into the pumps. It's just not my style of trading. But a bunch of people make it work, and it's just not me. And someone asked about the sold support. We actually wrote about that in the newsletter. If it mega dumps, I think you buy a weekly support at 173. But then again, like it's curving down so low already that if like it really like everything goes to shit, like if Bitcoin doesn't go to shit, I think 174-ish is like a really good place to buy. But if Bitcoin dumps, I think you want to buy 130-ish. So the range low. So basically you buy this to take profit at 170. Like that's the trade. Any liquidation below 130, no matter how low it goes, is a good buy, I think, towards 180. But yeah, if the market doesn't go to shit, 175-ish, I could see be good for like a bounce to 200 or something. So yeah. I think H is silent, like Saka. I think it's like Hisaka, but I have no idea. I've never asked him. I think I probably have asked him actually. We've like back in the day we chatted a lot. Nowadays less so. I still consider him as a friend, but I forgot. No idea. Hey Don, can you chart Bitcoin lower time frame? There's not that much there. I think there's a, like with this up walk up, right? And it's best seen on the 4 hour. Like these kind of walk ups usually result in a pop. That's why I'm waiting. The thing is, like if it pops really hard, I'm gonna be selling. If it rolls over, I think there's a good chance that we either just completely go to shit, or, and this is like for if you guys want to, like if you're not positioned and you want to buy, let's say we roll over, go sideways here, you want to be buying the reclaim of this like low, like 56k. Like I think at that point it'd probably do something like this. The problem is if it rolls over, this doesn't have to happen. Obviously it can just go and then just go and dump shit like really, really hard given OI numbers. But right now, I think there's like a decent chance that it goes up given that it's tried and it didn't break down. But I'm not the lower time frame kind of guy. I'm just hoping I get a good exit off of like a mega pump into 60 to 62k. Do you think Inverse Bra is a good trader? Yeah, he is. He's been around a shit long. Like he's been around longer than I have, and he used to be like one of the best altcoin traders. Nowadays he doesn't share as much, but he still puts out decent coins and decent calls. Hey, can you say again who to follow for narrative? Like Saka or something? Yeah, it's like Saka. So yeah. But yeah, obviously don't take anyone's word for gospel. Make your own mind. Like if you copy trade people, I mean, they're always gonna have bought before you, and they're always gonna sell before you. If you buy yourself, you don't have that, right? If you make up your own stuff. So like I always implore people to actually like just look at how people think and try to make it into your own thing rather than just waiting for them to think for you, because that's just a lazy way of life, right? You don't want to have other people think for you. You want to be the guy that does the thinking. And if you feel like you're too stupid for it, that just means you haven't spent enough time, because there is no one legitimately, like we've seen the biggest idiots make it in this space by just spending enough time. Or scamming, both work. But I mean, please don't scam. We have enough of those people already. But like legitimately try to understand what's going on and work on it for long enough, and you're gonna come around to like something that actually works for you. I like, trust me. And people have like hot runs and like shitty runs. I mean, there's been times where I've outperformed pretty much everyone in the market, and there's been times where pretty much everyone else has outperformed me. It's just if you don't kind of make it on your own, you're always going to rely on others, and that's one of the best recipes to kind of lose it all. So trust yourself, or at least work on yourself until you can trust yourself. Crypto Twitter are all in Telegram group chats coordinating shills. Nope. But I mean, a lot of them are, but I'm not actually in any. And I mean, I haven't shilled anything, so like you couldn't even kind of assume I am, because I mean, I haven't shilled anything. Like I've kept most of my recent trades to myself because I'm kind of tired of bottle feeding people. I let other people do that nowadays, and yeah, I don't like. I'm not trading too much anyway. But even like the ones that I do take, I'm like, ugh, don't want to go through like having to tell people what to do. Like you guys can do shit on your own. You just gotta do it, and I'm sure you will. Good TA course. Do Kretz one. Do Kretz one, and once you're through that, you probably don't need another one. What you need at that point is like practice. So do Kretz and then learn by doing. So yeah, that's that. I think we've talked about like stuff enough. Any other like final questions? I'll give you guys like 3 or 4 more minutes of like, and ask me anything, whatever. And then I'll call it a night because like I said, been working out, need my sleep. Otherwise, I mean, I'm not gonna get buff. How is golf going, Don? I've actually like, I've been climbing a shitload and have been like putting golf on the back burner. But you gotta understand, like it's right now it's like 5 degrees, which is, I have no idea in freedom units, but it's like pretty much freezing over here in Germany. So like it's not fun to play golf when it's freezing. So I've just been climbing. Soul final word. I'm not biggest fan on, like I wouldn't want to buy it right now. It kind of feels like it's running out of steam given how high in the market cap ranking it is. But like I could be completely wrong on the Soul front. Like I would never short it. So like my opinion is kind of meaningless right now. Why are you selling at 60k pump? What if it goes up from there? Then it goes up from there. Then my ETH goes up. It's like when you have a trade, right? Or in general, when you're in the market and you're like, okay, I'm going to be in the market until it does X. And then it does X and you only take half of the profit. You're already, like I'm already, because according to my rules, I should be selling everything into the next pump. But I'm too bullish for that, so I'm just selling the one that is weak, and that's Bitcoin, and then I keep the other half. So for me, what the question of what happens if it goes up is if I just rebuy, right? In the worst case, like I'm fine with rebuying above it. What I would not be fine with is having a position that I established in 40, like at 43 to 45k, go up to 70k, then get an invalidation, like something that I've been saying I don't want to see, as in like a close below all-time high, not sell and then do the round trip. And at that point, the question is, do I really want to sell into 40k support? Probably not, because it could easily bounce to like 50k, right? And what do I do if it dumps from there? Then I'm just going to be sitting in a position that I should have closed ages ago. And I don't want to close into the 20k support because like, holy shit, 20k Bitcoin seems like a bargain, right? Like, what the fuck do you do in that instance? I wouldn't know. And given that I wouldn't, I'm more than fine with like selling into like a pump so that I know exactly what to do, which would be like, let's say this goes, I sell into 60, 62k, and then it goes higher and I rebuy 64, 65. I know exactly that if it goes back below 55-ish down here, I'm going to be out for the market for good. I'm going to sell everything, right? If this happens. So I know exactly what I do if the price goes further down. I know exactly what I'm going to do if price goes higher up, because I'm rebuying and I'm going to look for 70, 80. At that point, it would actually look pretty good for maybe even higher than 80. So I would have like a plan for both sides. But if I don't like respond to a close below support and in general, like just something worrying, like where am I gonna respond to the price movements? Am I gonna respond to it at 51k support and then just be like, okay, I'm gonna get out at 51k? Probably not, because I wouldn't want to sell that support, and I'm not gonna respond to it at 40k, because at that point this could be just a wick or whatever. So I'm fine with selling, you know, when it still looks somewhat decent, and then rebuying if it looks even better, rather than like holding on, hoping that it doesn't go down, and having no clue what to do when it, like, if it does actually go down. I prefer that much more, but that's like a trading kind of thing. If you're an investor and you think crypto goes up in general, you don't have to do that at all, right? In general, I implore anyone to not copy trade anyone. This is just the plan that I've set out, and for the people that have been listening, I've been saying the exact same thing for the last few weeks. I'm pretty damn certain that everyone that's been kind of listening has been knowing about like me not wanting to see all-time high breakout get lost. So that's kind of my, like, if you've ever gone through like a time where you didn't sell when you should have, and then price goes down and you have no idea what the fuck to do, then like you're gonna learn, at least in trades. You're not gonna, like, if you're an investor or whatever, you shouldn't even have like that kind of level where you're like, okay, I'm gonna get out, because if it goes down, you want to buy more of it. But I'm not an investor, I'm a trader. So yeah, that's that. Hope it helped in any case. I mean, I hope I'm not getting shaken out. But then again, like, I wouldn't even be too upset if it goes up, because at the end of the day, then my ETH would go up. So yeah, that's that. Hope it helped. Thanks for coming by. Big shout out to FTX, the sponsor of the show. They were formerly known as Blockfolio. So yeah, they still have all of the portfolio tracking stuff that you kind of used to from years past. And they also allow you to kind of trade spot there. So if you want to check out what they're doing, check out the links in the description. Sorry for if you can hear the Telegram spamming. I'm sorry for that. Getting important messages right now, I feel like. So yeah, big shout out to FTX for sponsoring the show, and big thank you for you guys coming by, and we'll see each other probably on Friday. I don't want to promise anything because the last few streams have been chaotic, but I'll announce it on Twitter, whatever it is. So yeah, thanks for coming by. See you guys next time. Bye bye.